What's going on, everyone? I'm Logan and welcome back to another episode of Livin in Lex. Today we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to living in central Kentucky, and that's buying a horse farm and exactly what it takes to do it. Buying any kind of property is no easy process, and buying a horse farm is no different. There's a lot to think about that's different from buying a regular farm and that's different from buying a regular house. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the horse industry, but I'm not going to talk a lot about the history or what it takes to be a horse farmer. I want to talk about the steps that it takes and some of the things to consider when buying a horse farm, mostly because I just don't want to pretend like I own some massive horse farm with a lot of thoroughbreds and win the Kentucky Derby every year, because I'm not that. I am from Lexington, so I've always kind of been surrounded by the horse industry, but not only that, I went to an all-agriculture high school or technical school called Locust Trace in Lexington, then went on to the University of Kentucky where I studied agriculture education. So while I may not own a horse farm, I've been surrounded by it through the form of high school and my degree in college, as well as my grandparents owned one while I was growing up. Agriculture has always been kind of a passion of mine, so I'm really excited about this video, and that was one of the primary interests of me getting into real estate, is to hopefully someday sell a lot of land and farms, and I've already started to do some of that. So with all that being said, if you're thinking about buying a horse farm, a farm, land, selling one here in Lexington, or just buying or selling a home in general, be sure you reach out to me. I absolutely love it when people reach out from the channel. Feel free to text, call, email me at any time with any questions you may have or any inquiries you may have as well. So without further ado, let's talk about what it takes to get a horse farm right here in Kentucky. Kentucky is an absolutely beautiful state, especially whenever you're talking about central Kentucky, which is where the majority of the horse farms are located. I hear from people all the time saying that they absolutely love driving the back roads of Kentucky and enjoying the horse farms. If you're driving around in the Lexington area, it's really not that hard to find one. Just find a rural area and you're likely to find a horse farm along with it. But depending on where you're looking at in Kentucky, a lot of the farms can look very different. You can find massive horse farms that have hundreds, if not thousands of acres here in central Kentucky. And some of those may be the premium thoroughbred operations that you hear about and see whenever you talk about the thoroughbred industry. But not only do you have the massive horse farms, you also see a lot of the smaller horse farms here too. I think a lot of people would be surprised at how many hobby farms or small farms are located in central Kentucky. There's a lot of people that know that this is a good area for horses and buying and selling horses because it is the horse capital of the world, and they just want to own a horse farm here. So that kind of leads me into my first point of buying a horse farm, and that's to determine the price you can pay and the size you'll need. Whether horses are just a hobby or an interest of yours, or whether or not you want to get involved in the breeding of thoroughbreds, it's important to determine how big of a farm you need, how many horses you're going to have, how much you're going to spend on it. All of those things are really important to consider before buying. I want to throw some numbers at you really quick. In central Kentucky, it's recommended that you have around 1 to 2 acres per horse. So what this means is you're probably not buying an acre of land and calling it a horse farm. Most of your horse farms or hobby farms here, or even farms in general, are probably going to be at least 5 acres. Being the real estate agent that I am, I can tell you that buying 5 acres in central Kentucky is not going to be a cheap feat. Especially as you get closer to Lexington, that land's going to get more expensive. I would say at a minimum 5 acres with a house on it or of some sort is going to cost you at least $250,000, and it's probably not going to be fully equipped for horses already. You could probably get away with buying 5 acres around $100,000 if it doesn't have any kind of barns or house on it already, but keep in mind that means you'll have to build all those things yourself. If you want a property that's fully equipped with a house and equine barn already, you're likely to spend something closer to the $500,000 range, and that's still a hobby farm, and as you get closer to Lexington, again, it's probably going to get more expensive. As you go outside of Lexington, the land is going to get a little bit cheaper, with some of the cheaper farms probably being located in Paris or Nicholasville or Georgetown and some of those areas, while some of the more expensive ones are going to be located in Lexington because land is really precious here, as well as Versailles because that's a pretty popular horse area as well. Now, most equine farms around here that are serious about making money, those can cost you well over $1 million. And again, same rules apply to a lot of these. The further you go outside of Lexington, the cheaper they will be, But if you're serious about making money in the thoroughbred industry and horse industry here in central Kentucky, you're probably going to spend $1 million on the land. Now, whatever horse farm you do decide to buy, whether it be a hobby or to actually make money, you might buy it in cash, but just know there are some options to finance one as well. A lot of rural areas offer USDA loans where you can get up to 0% down on a loan. It is a government issued loan, so it can take a while to get approved and to actually receive that loan. These loans can also have a lot of hoops to jump through in the process, so just know that before applying and trying to get a USDA loan. Some of the other loan types that you can do is you could talk to the lenders at Ag Credit or Farm Credit. These lenders specialize in giving out loans to farms, small farms, any kind of farm in general. I've got lender contacts in those companies, so if you reach out to me, I can set you up with one of them. So when considering the area to buy a horse farm, why is it central Kentucky that's so popular? Central Kentucky has the rolling hills of the bluegrass, and it's actually where around 95% of all the thoroughbreds in the world are bred. So it would only make sense that if you're into thoroughbreds that you would own a horse farm here, because it's probably going to be cheaper to transport them. Not only that, but because they are so prominent here in central Kentucky, there's a lot of vets, feed stores. Central Kentucky is already really equipped with all the things you would need for a small horse farm or large horse farm. Horses are not easy animals to maintain, so you want to be sure you have the proper systems in place, like having a vet, having those feed stores nearby to be sure you can get all the supplies that you need for your farm. So when buying and considering the location for your horse farm, think about a few things. Where's your closest feed store? How long is it going to take you to drive there? Where's the closest vet? When am I going to need a vet? Let me just give you an example of something real quick. If one of your horses eats something that it's not supposed to, you may or may not know this, and you probably do if you're watching this video, but horses can't actually throw things up. It's not how their esophagus works. So if a horse eats something that's poisonous to them or anything else that they're not supposed to, it can actually kill them if you don't have a vet nearby ready to help. I've mentioned it a few times already, but the location really matters when considering the price of the farm. The land in Lexington is really precious, therefore it is more expensive, but as you go outside to other areas such as Nicholasville, Georgetown, Richmond, Paris, any of those areas that also are in central Kentucky, the land is a lot cheaper in those areas and it's a lot easier to find farms, but it's probably a lot more hobby farms in those areas, and Versailles and Lexington have a lot more of the serious thoroughbred operations. That's not to say that those other areas don't have serious thoroughbred operations, because they do, and there's some serious ones in them, but as you go outside, it does get cheaper and you do see more hobby farms. I've kind of alluded to this already, but one of the biggest things that you should consider before buying your farm in central Kentucky is it a hobby farm or is it a thoroughbred farm you plan to make money with? Because there is a massive difference. There is a lot of money to be earned in the thoroughbred industry, but it's an incredibly complex industry that you need to know about before jumping into it. If you want to make money with it, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know how to do that, but what I can tell you is it's really complicated, and only the elite and top dogs really make the serious money in this business. Whenever you think it's possible for you to turn a profit, I would really consider doing your research and maybe even talking to some that are already being successful in this industry. Now, if it's just a hobby farm, you probably need to do your research on that as well, because horses are not like raising cats and dogs. There's a lot more steps and they're a lot more complicated than that. Just know too that horses are not cheap animals. They do cost a lot of money, so keep that in mind. As soon as you've determined whether or not you want a hobby farm or a thoroughbred farm for a profit, the decision really gets kind of easy from there. Most hobby farms are probably going to be a little bit smaller, maybe in Lexington, but probably outside of Lexington, and some of your more serious horse farms, like I said before, probably going to cost over $1 million, maybe 100 acres, maybe not quite that big, but probably at least 50, and it's probably going to be in Lexington or Versailles. It could also be about anywhere in central Kentucky too, but those are the common areas. So that's all I have on buying a horse farm here in central Kentucky. I talked a lot about how to do the process. Like I said before, I'm a real estate agent. I know where you need to start. I know how you need to start buying, so I know a lot more about that than I do on the actual day-to-day running a horse farm. So do your research on running a horse farm and what it takes to take care of horses, and when you think it's time for you to start looking and buying, reach out to me. Like I said, I get people that are reaching out to me every day on a daily basis, asking me about Kentucky, Lexington, buying horse farms, selling them, talking about agriculture, because like I said before, that's kind of my passion and that's what I went to school for. I'll leave my information down below. Feel free to text, call, email me at any time if you have any kind of questions or are starting to look for your first farm. Also, if you like the content that my channel is putting out, tell me in the comments, and be sure you press the subscribe button and the little notification bell below this video so I can keep posting more content for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time on the next episode of Livin' in Lex.